When you think about popular lures in bass fishing, no doubt one of the ones that comes to mind right away is the bladed jig. So today, from start to finish, I'm going to show you how to build your own bladed jig rod. Welcome to the Angler's Workshop. So all the components I use, all of you can easily purchase from MudHole.com. And this rod build is actually a simple one because it comes as part of a kit. Now I've got 3 signature series rod kits from MudHole, and this one is the bladed jig rod. And if you were just to buy the blank by itself, it would be the BMBS 7.4 10-20. It's a composite blank. It's a fiberglass near the top part of the rod, and then it goes down into graphite. So again, this is a 7.4 rod, and the first thing we have to do on it is we have to find the spine, or we want to find the backbone of the rod, because that's what we're going to base the build on. It's easy to do. I'm going to put the butt of the rod on a hard surface, and then I'm going to roll it in my hand. You will feel it lock, and where it locks is the spine of the rod. That's it right there. If you can see that, it literally just falls right into place. So after I do that, I'm going to take the blank, and then I'm going to take a marker, a China marker, and I'm going to mark it right there. Now, if I was building a spinning rod, I would build on the bottom of that backbone. Since I am building a bait casting rod, I'm going to build on the top. Now I'm going to show you how to mark out the guides. To make this even easier for you, here is one of the first things I do after I find a backbone. Or I've done this already. Once you do it, it'll be really simple. Go to mudhole.com, and they actually have the charts, both casting and spinning, depending on the rod length that you want to build. So my 7.4 is right there. Now all I'm going to do, all my measurements are already done for me. So now all I have to do is mark them out. Once you go to mudhole.com, print these out. I keep them on a clipboard. It's nice, easy, and a quick reference for any time that I build a rod. So you'll see right here, here's the 7.4. My first measurement is 2 5/8. I've marked that off. My next one is 5 5/8. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to mark that. I'm going to do that for all the guides. Then I know exactly where I'm going to place them. Okay, so I have the part of the kit here that we're going to use to build the handle assembly. Now, one of the first things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to ream out the cork, because the cork's not going to be the perfect size that it is for the rod blank, depending on which one you're building on. So also available in MudHole is a CRB reaming kit, and it comes with 4 different sizes, and that's available, and that can do just about any freshwater rod that you want. And it comes with a handle here, and I suggest that you start out with the hand reamer at first, and then you go up by sizes. So I start with the small one, then I go up to the next size, and you get the idea. Once you get better at it, you can actually take these and put them in a drill, and then you can do it a little bit faster. But I highly recommend that you do it by hand first. Get some patience and learn exactly the way you do it, because if you overdo it, that gets a little bit harder to correct that, even though it can be done. But start with a hand reamer first, and then eventually you can move up to the drill. So these are already reamed. Now I'm going to show you how to assemble it. All right, so now we're going to mix the paste. It's a 2-part, and this is actually pretty easy to do, but it's not activated until you mix the 2 together. So I'm going to and you're going to do this, and you're going to learn eventually, depending on the rod that you build, exactly how much you're going to need, but I'm okay even if it's a little bit more in most cases. So I'm going to put that in here, get that part in there, and I'm going to get off as much of that as I can. All right, there you go. That's that part of it. And then we'll seal that up. And then we're going to take the other part of it, and we're going to get about close to an equal amount. For me, it's not an exact science, but there we go, just a little bit. Right about in there. There you go. All right. Now we're going to put this together here, and then we're going to mix these. All right. And I want to mix them. The color, I'm trying to tell you what it's supposed to look like. It's just a dull, it would be a dullish white yellow. But I want to make sure that this is mixed together really well. And this is what is going to hold your grips and your reel seat to the rod. And when this dries, it literally dries like cement. It ain't going anywhere. So we're going to mix this up here. All right. Now it's time to start setting up the butt cap and the reel grip. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is put on the butt cap. So I've taken I've taken some of this and spread it on the blank. And the best way that I've found to do this is once you put it on there is to start rotating. And why you rotate is that it spreads that glue or that paste inside there enough. And I don't mind if I get a little bit over on here, and I'll show you why. But I'm going to get it all the way through. And you will feel it tighten. I'm feeling it tighten on there now. That is telling me that it is spreading out exactly how I want it. Okay, so now I have it right there. And if you see, I have a little bit left right here. That's okay. And I want a little bit of that on there because I got to put the butt cap on there. So I'm going to put even just a little bit more, and not a lot. And if you get a little bit extra on there, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how to get that off. And trust me, for your first time, if you're just new to rod building, you're going to get some of this on you. That's just how it goes. If you've done this for a long time, you're probably going to laugh at me, but I still get some on me. That's just how it goes. And I'll show you how to get a lot of that off. But there we go. That's all we need there. Now I'm going to take the butt cap and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn it just like so. And there you go. That right there is now your butt cap. Now you'll see a little bit extra right here. So how do we get that off? That's pretty simple actually. I'm going to take some paper towel. This is isopropyl alcohol. And if you've watched any of our other YouTube videos, you've heard me say this before. This is your friend. Okay? Isopropyl alcohol will take the stuff off you. It'll take it off, the excess off the rod. So I'm just going to soak the pad there a little bit. And all I'm going to do is wipe this off. Okay? Just like so. A little bit here, get that off of there, just like that. Now, that's that. So that's out of the way. Now, if I have some on my hands, I'm just going to spray a little bit on my hands right there and rub it on there, and then I can dry it off, and that'll take off most of the paste. Now, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to build this as a split grip, so I'm going to show you how to set the back grip and then eventually the reel seat. Let's do that. Now, to complete the cork, I'm going to get a winding check on there. And you can get them in a bunch of fancy configurations. I just use the simple rubber ones, and they come with this kit. And what you're going to do is you're going to put this on a rod blank. It finishes off where the cork does. So I'm going to show you an easy trick to get it. Now, once you see I already have it slid up here a little bit, all I'm going to do is I'm going to wet that area just like so. And then simply slide up the winding check. That's it. That's all it is. Now, push that on there. And now, if I wanted to put any thread on there, which I'm not going to do, but now I can epoxy over this. You'll see that in a little bit. That's going to seal everything, make it waterproof. Now we can get to the reel grip. Now, I like building my rods with a 5-inch gap between the rear grip and the butt. So how do I make sure I do that? I could mark it with a China pencil if I want to, but what I do is I put one of the winding checks there at about 5 inches, and now I know exactly where to butt up my rear grip. Okay. All right. Now that I have the paste on there, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to start to roll. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and it's okay if you get a little build up there, that's fine. Again, this is where the isopropyl alcohol is going to come in handy. So we're going to get some of that off right there. Put that on some paper towel. And I'm just going to keep rolling. That's why I put that mark there. I know exactly where to come back to. And I want this tightening up. I can feel it start to tighten. That's what I want. Just like so. Pull it back there. Now I'm going to take some of the excess. I'm even going to put it back on the blank. That's all right. Spread that out. Go. Just about there. Starting to tighten pretty good. See where that mark is. There it is. Right in there. Okay. Alright, I just finished cleaning that up there, and that's my reel grip set, or my reel grip is set. Now I'm going to put the reel seat on here. All right, in most cases, on a lot of rod blanks, you're going to have to build arbors, and basically what you're going to build them with is tape. You would do that. But since this composite rod is almost as thick as the reel seat, all I'm going to have to do now is put the paste on here and glue it right to there. So I'm going to show you how to do that and then how to clean it up after. Okay, now I've applied the paste on there. And again, like I said, on this one, since the rod blank is so thick, I don't have to put arbors on here. But we do have a blank through reel seat on here, so I'm going to have to clean that up. So I'm going to do the same thing here, though. I'm going to turn as I move this up, and you're going to see it go like this. And there it goes. And you're going to see how it's going to fit on there. And I'll go back on here, just like so. It's getting through there real nice. All right. Just like so. Right. Almost right there. All right. I've cleaned this up. Right now you can see the isopropyl alcohol on here. So I'm going to let this set up. I am going to show you one little trick, especially when you're putting on a reel seat that's exposed. And that is where you're going to tighten for the reel on there. I always want to make sure that I put on some of that tape. That way you know that the paste is not going to get inside there. And if a little bit gets on there, that's okay. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to spray a little of the isopropyl alcohol on there, and then I'm going to wipe around there because I don't want that getting in there. And sometimes I'll overdo it. I'd rather have it on there so my reel seat doesn't stick. Now I know it's going to be okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to put on one more winding check right here. It's got all the paste inside there. That's going to give me the fully waterproof secured. I'm going to let this sit overnight. Usually you don't need to let it sit that long, but I'm going to let it sit overnight. When we come back, then I'm going to show you how to start wrapping the guides. I've already picked out my thread, so now I'm going to go to the first mark where I'm going to start wrapping these guides. But before I do that, I have to do a starting knot. Here's how you do that. All right, I'm going to lay the thread over right here. There's my mark. I'm going to get my mark off there. I know exactly where I'm going to do that. Now we're going to take the thread and I am going to wrap on the outside of the knot, and then I am going to wrap on the inside of the knot, like so. And then I'm going to go around about 4 or 5 times. Now I'm going to step on my pedal, and it'll tighten the knot, just like so. Take my razor blade and cut it off as close as I can. There's my starting knot. Now I can clean up any little area around there if some more of that marker is still there, and then I'm going to continue and start wrapping my guide. One of the great things about rod building is you can learn from anybody and everybody. I'm going to show you how I put my guides on. I understand that a lot of people do it differently. That's fine, but this is how I do it. All right, I'm going to take my first microwave guide, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it underneath the tightened thread right here and place it right like so. And now I'm going to make sure to at least start that this is lined up with the center of my reel seat, which it is. So I'm going to leave that on there, and then I'm going to slowly start to wrap this. Back over that. Come back over it again. There we go. You know, when your thread separates like this, you just take a burnishing tool and you pack it, and you get all the thread together like so. Line this back up a little bit, right like that, and then I'm going to continue the wrap. Okay, I always have this burnishing tool with me just to make sure everything is how I want it. I see a little gap in the thread right there, and this just helps to pack your thread in to make the finish look better. There we go. And now I'll just keep going on here, like so. And there's no need to rush. I just take my time. And I'm going to show you a neat little trick here in a minute. Everything is packing in real nice. Just take your time, like so. Sorry if my hand gets in the way here a little bit. You'll be able to see the finished one when I'm done. Just making sure everything is packed how I want it. Okay. There we go. Now when I get pretty close to where I want to finish it, I'm going to show you just a little trick. I don't even remember where I learned this, but I really like it. And that is, I am going to take the thread and put it around the outside of the guide right there, just to lock it in place a little bit more. And I'll do that a couple times on each guide. There you go. Pull it around like that. That's just about pretty close to where I want it. That's looking real good. I'm going to make sure that it's lined up on the reel seat, and it is. The nice thing about this is you can adjust it as you go if you need to. So that's about right where I want it, about right in there. Now what I'm going to do is I need to finish off this wrap. So what I like to do is I like to take a little bit brighter piece of thread, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that over into a loop. Hold this like this, and I don't want it on top. I'm going to get it underneath there. But then all I'm simply going to do is put that like that. And I like to go about 5 times. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right there. Take the razor blade again. I'm going to hold the thread tight down here. Cut it off. Bring it around the top. Hold it in place. And then I'm going to stick it through that loop. Like so. Through there. Grab it. Got it. Okay, good. Got that there. Now I'm going to pull this thread through here, and that is going to tie off my knot. I'm going to take the razor blade again, cut it right there. There you go. I'm going to take it and just pack it a little bit more. Look at that. There you go. Now we're on to the next guy. Okay, now that all the guides are wrapped, the next thing I want to do is I take it off the wrapper and I'm going to line it up just to make sure that the guides are right where I want them. Now, if one moves or whatever, I can easily just go in and move it and it'll stay in place. But here's another little tool that I use that really helps me align the guides, and it's just a little guide alignment tool, and you put it right in the reel seat, you tighten the reel seat down like so, and then kind of just like aim it like a shotgun, look right down it, we're right in line. Perfect. Everything's looking great. Now I'm going to show you how to mix the epoxy and apply it to the rod. Mixing epoxy is easy. Now it's a 2-part process, and I've got my little syringes here so I can easily mark out exactly what I want. So all I'm going to do is pull that down. That's exactly where I want right there. All right, put that in my mixing cup. That is the first part of it. And now I'm going to take the second part of it. Same thing, I'm going to look on my syringe, find the exact mark, pull that down right there. Now, that's all done. Now all I have to do is I'm going to take a stick and I'm going to mix this. People vary on how they do it. I usually do about a count of 100 one way, count of 100 another. I try to get out as many of the air bubbles as I can. Once that is thoroughly mixed together, then we're going to put it on the thread and start getting in the finishing process, or near the end of finishing this rod. All right, now I'm just going to put my rod wrapper on dry and let it go around slow like this. I like it always going away from me. I know some people like it coming toward them. I like it going away. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the epoxy to the thread, and I usually put on 3 coats. It starts to glimmer like a shiny piece of candy. Then I know that's enough for my first layer. That's where I feel comfortable, is when it looks like that. Now I'm going to go down and do the rest of the guides, and then that'll be all we do until we decide to go and put the tip top on. Putting the tip top on is easy. I just use Loctite. I put a little on the tip right here and rub it on there just to spread it out. Then I'm going to take the tip top here. I'm going to turn just like I did before, and now I'm going to line it up with the 2 guides right behind it, and I'm going to press. Now I'm going to let that set up for just a little bit. It's going to dry quickly, and then I'm going to finish with the last 2 layers of epoxy, and my rod is complete. And there you have it. You just built your own bladed jig rod. You will never fish a finer rod than one you design and build yourself. So for all the education and information when it comes to rod building, there is only one place to go, and that is MudHole.com. I truly appreciate you being here today. God bless you. I'm Jim Crowley. Thanks for watching The Angler's Workshop.